on the last episode of A Prepper's Life.
Alright, we've warped into a time when the tile is done.
Alright, outside. Go. Freaking dog's puking at the door. Now, on this episode.
Alright everybody, I got the baseboard and the quarter round down here where the refrigerator is going to go, and this back wall needs to be caulked, puttied, and painted. And I'm going to get into how I do the caulking. I've had a request to show that. I will tell you this, I am not a professional. In fact, I've been called an amateur, but I don't know why. I've never said I was a professional. But I have kind of figured out my own way of doing it, doing the caulking, and and it works out. So I'm going to show you kind of how I do it, and hopefully that'll help. I think it's more of an art than it is a set standard way of doing it, and everybody needs to, if they're going to do it a lot, you just need to do it and figure it out on their own. But I'll show you some tips. So let's make it happen. Okay, we're going to use DAP. I guess I should put it so you can see it. Quick seal. It's just a nice bright white waterproof seal, and it looks good when it goes down. Now, I have seen people use a little tool that looks like a big fat bass guitar pick, and some of them have, you know, rounded corners, some of them have squared off corners, and they use those to go along the edge. But to me, it just makes a big mess. Maybe there's a knack to it that I haven't picked up, but I don't like to do that. I just use my fingers. Now, I've also heard people say, you know, lick your finger and go. And I guess that would work just simply because it's wet. But it would you'd only get to lick it once, because after that, no matter how much you wiped it off, the taste of that stuff's on your finger. So I'm not going to do it that way. First, we got to make sure that, okay, yeah, we've got plenty coming out. So what happens is, as you can see, I've cut it at a little angle so you can get a better aim with it as you go, better shot. And the idea is to just get a nice bead along here, and you can, you know, try really hard to get a really nice bead, but it's not going to be perfect. So you just want to get a small bead, because you're going to go back over it with your finger and you're going to do it lightly, but it's going to push some out. So you don't want a whole bunch there, because you'll just have a big mess. And sometimes you might have to come back over and fill some back in. It just depends. But let's go ahead and get started. Just start a little bit. Sometimes I didn't want to start right. Now there's some big gaps in this spot right here. But see, right at this point, I'm just trying to kind of get an even squeeze on it all the way down. To the corner. Like that. Now this is the fun part. You just want to lightly get your finger on there, and then just try to make one smooth run across it, and very lightly. Don't press, just lightly, just enough to kind of shape it. And the idea is not to get a whole big bunch of it squeezing out over the edge of the baseboard there. Now, you can get yourself a rag and keep it on the floor like that. Just wipe a finger. And then, like right here where I lifted up, it left a little ridge, and I'll try to lightly go back over until I can kind of take that ridge out. Now right there, there was a bigger gap, so it left a little bit of a spot. So and I work it quick. I try to work it quick, and then run back on the other edge here just to make sure that anything that came over gets taken off, like that. Make sure my finger's clean, and then try to get another shot like this. And the trick is, once you take your finger up, get the excess off. That way, when you go to reshape it or run your finger back, you don't put a bunch of excess on there. So I got a little bit right there, right there. Okay. So I don't know if you can see how that turned out. But that's how I do it. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the corners and for the edge. These tend to be a little bit hard. Now, of course, you can see like the nail holes and stuff. I'll come in there with putty before I paint. I'll let it putty and then dry it off a little bit. But basically, just kind of the same concept here. Get a nice little bead going. And if you can aim it nicely at first, it's going to be easier to shape it with your finger. And I don't expect it to ever be perfect, but you can certainly work it and work it and work it until it starts drying, and then you can't do anything with it. And you also got to remember, when you come back over and paint this, a lot of this will get filled in by the paint too. How do you like the GoPro? I set this hat up quite a while ago and used it a couple times, and then I thought I lost it. I couldn't find it anywhere for the longest time. And when I was looking for the DAP, I was looking in a spot where I usually put it, and I looked behind my amplifier, and this was laying behind there. So somehow it fell back there, and I never thought to look there. Dogs are going crazy. Alright, so that's the basic concept, and a lot of it just has to do with doing it until you figure it out for yourself, getting your own thing going. Like I said, I'm no pro, but I've done it quite a bit, and so I've got kind of the thing going there. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of this. Here we go. Alright, we've warped into a time when the tile is done. Except for I have not grouted it yet, and that is what I'm going to do next. Now, as you can see I've laid that much. It's been sitting over a day, 24 hours, so it's nice and hard and stuck to the cement. And of course, I'm an amateur at this. I've been told that, and I've never said I was a pro, but I'm still doing it.